So first, everyone, good morning. Welcome to HQ. If you weren't here for the mock lectures, my name is Christian. I'm a tutor here in the Department of Psychology. For this next presentation, we'll talk about a little bit about the program for psychology. We'll talk about HQ and also a little bit about psychology. So to introduce this presentation, I'd like to invite Professor Singhang CHEUNG. Professor CHEUNG is a director of the Bachelor of Psychology program. Professor CHEUNG is also an expert in visual perception and visual neuroscience. So his studies are on the capabilities and limitations of our visual systems. It's a very interesting and deep discussion. I'll pass on the presentation to Professor CHEUNG. So thank you very much.
All right. Can you hear me okay at the back? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming. Once again, well, thank you, Christian, for the introduction. Thank you for coming again. So my name is Singhang. As Christian mentioned, I'm currently the director of Bachelor of Psychology program here. I've been with this department for a relatively long time, over 16 years now. So if you have questions about the campus, the university, and the department, feel free to come talk to me afterwards. So the goal today is there is going to be two parts. The first part will be me talking. I'll probably think about that as the less interesting part. The second part will be I've invited some of our current students, two of our current students, to come to talk to you, to share their experience here so far with you. So I will be brief for my part, so save more time for them to share. And then later we'll have some time for you to ask questions if you have any. My part, basically, I would like to do, well, mainly two things. One, just to help you, if you haven't got a chance to think about what is psychology, to help you understand what is psychology and how we study psychology in some way, or what we study in psychology. And so that's the first question. What is psychology? The second question is, if you want to study psychology and study psychology here at HKU, what you can expect. All right. So the two things. So sometimes I got some question here, some of the sayings that you may hear a lot from the media. Perhaps psychology is like mind reading. I think it's still got a few of those questions whenever I tell others that I'm a psychologist, I study psychology, I'm teaching psychology in the university. They would say, "Wow, you can read my mind." Or they would say, "I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I don't want you to know what I'm thinking." So very often people think about psychology as mind reading. Anyone who knows a little bit of psychology, got training in psychology, they can read your mind. So we will see whether that's true. Or more generally, again, what is psychology? So related to that, very often when we think of psychologists, we think of psychotherapists, people who do psychotherapy. Or think about, well, I'll show you a picture, having someone sitting down, talking to you, telling you about his or her feelings. So is it just like that? So what do psychologists do? And then perhaps for some of the, I see in the audience, we have some parents here. So some of you may worry or may think, what can a graduate in psychology do? So I will share, and also showing some statistics from our graduates to highlight what are some of the possible paths after they've done a psychology degree. So very often when we think about psychology, we have an image like this. It's quite well, of course, this is from a movie. For those who may recognize the ones lying down in the front, that's Woody Allen. So it's from a movie. And very often when people think about psychology, they would automatically have an image like this. Someone lying down or sitting comfortably and trying being counseled. And so there will be someone hiding from the view of the client, sitting in the back, and just listening to what the client has to say, has to share. So that's perhaps what we think about psychology. But hopefully after today, you get a sense that psychology is not just that. Of course, we do have colleagues on doing psychotherapy. Those who are trained in clinical psychology. So if you haven't got a chance, in fact, we upstairs, our department is on the 6th floor in this building. So if you haven't got a chance, you can go up to our department. We got different labs open for you to learn more about what we do here in our department. And also there are some consultation sessions given by our current clinical psychology students, our current educational psychology students, and some of our demonstrators or tutors as well. So you can also learn more about psychology by talking to them. All right, back to here. So psychology is not just like that. So to get you to think about what psychology might be about, I have some questions for you to consider. So let me switch over to this. Okay. We can do this first. Do you know what this is? Yeah, what is this? MBTI. All right. So this is what well, I feel like this is what everyone knows. Well, MBTI, they've done a very good job in getting people to know about this. So probably you've heard about this. According to the MBTI, there are these four questions or 4 dimensions where in each of the dimension, you can be characterized yourself as one type or the other. For example, if okay, all right. So for example, there is this dimension that's about extroversion versus introversion. Then you can get yourself in by giving yourself a label, whether you are I or E. And then there is a second dimension where it's about sensing versus intuition. Then you can describe yourself as whether you are S or N. All right. So that's how MBTI works, trying to categorize people into different types. So here's a question for you. So we have, we have about 80 in the audience here. We have more joining through Zoom. So do you really think that we can describe, we can put everyone here nicely into one of these 16 combinations? So there are just 16 types. According to MBTI, strictly speaking, there are only 16 types of people out there, 16 types of personality out there. Do you really believe that there are only these 16 types existing out there? So that's what MBTI is trying to tell you. Yet, if you talk to psychologists who are doing research on personality, so sometimes we call them personality psychologists. In fact, sometimes clinical psychologists, they work on personality as well. Of course, probably you've heard about, there's this category of mental disorder, it's called personality disorder. So what do psychologists say about personality? In fact, when people do research on personality, we found that personality is more like describing people along a continuum. So we call it a trait. So it's not A or B, is not E or I, if you want to use the MBTI terminology. It's more about how high a score you have along that E to I continuum. Okay. You may be a little bit more like introvert, but you're not all the way. So it's not 0-1. It's not dichotomous, but it's a continuous degradation in terms of how one should be put onto such a dimension. So we call this is technical term. We call this is continuous variable. It's a continuous trait. But you can think of this some of these examples like height. You just don't talk about someone as well. The person is tall, the person is short. You can describe that along a particular continuum, a particular scale. It's continuous. So similar to that, in fact, when we talk about personality, we can talk about trait. Okay. So so hopefully, if you don't remember anything that I'm going to say next, you can have one takeaway. I think you can. Well, that's what you've learned from HKU psychology. If you come across MBTI again, well, of course, that can be a useful tool to get you started to think about personality, but that's not enough. There is a lot more about personality that we can do, that we can study, that we can learn about someone. Okay, so don't well, in some sense, don't get yourself being sort of restricted or framed within one of those 16 combinations as well. So that's one. So in addition to personality, in fact, there are some other things out there that that you might have heard a lot, and I would like to hear what you think about some of these sayings. Thanks. Just one. Don't start it. Okay. All right. So if you have your cell phone, may I ask it to switch over there as well? Okay. All right. So you can either type menti.com and then enter this code, or you can use the QR code there. I will let it stay for a little longer before I go to the next slide. All right. Have you joined? All right. Well, you got that number on the top as well. So now through that platform, you can answer. May I ask you to answer this question? It's a quite simple question. So you may have heard about how memory works. Memory. So when we talk about memory, do you think that memory works like a video camera? So it's like you take a camera and you just record whatever you experience, and then later you can just relive that memory by calling that recordings out, and we play that again. So do you think memory works like that? So agree, disagree, well, in different gradations and scale. So I'll give you some time to answer this. I think we have most of you answered already. Okay. So we have most of you answering, giving a disagree response, strongly disagree or mostly disagree. about 30%, yeah, about 30, 40% say mostly agree or strongly agree. So this is one of the things that you hear a lot, even in the movie Inside Out. It almost being portrayed that way as well. You experience something, that memory got put into like a crystal ball and being stored somewhere, and you can just retrieve that and put it into the machine, and you can play that recording out again. Yet, if you ask this question to memory experts, psychologists who are doing research on memory, they'll tell you that memory does not work that way. This is not how memory works. There's a lot in memory that people are still trying to understand, and that's one of the things that we study in psychology. So here's another question. Or you hear this saying as well. Most people use only 10% of their brain power. True or false? So here we have a clear winner on thinking that is true. Well, just another fact for you to take home. So we have different organs inside our body. Do you know which organ use the highest amount, most of the energy that you intake? That's our brain. Okay. So that's how active our brain is. Okay. So if you think about the brain being so active, yet we're just using 10% of the brain power. That's a total waste of what you are eating, what you're taking in, or the calorie that you take in. That's not how it works. Well, there are some theories about why this thing got circulated around so much. Our brain is always active, even during sleep. So that's why people look at brain activities during sleep. So even without you being conscious about what's going on, there are a lot of processing that's happening. So that's one of the things in fact, we study in visual, well, Christian mentioned that I do research in visual perception. That's what we do in visual perception as well. We have so many visual information coming in, and there are a lot of processing that happens without us consciously think about that. So definitely, we're not using only 10% of the brain power. That's not true. Okay, so here's another question for you to think about. This is about hypnosis. Do you know what is hypnosis? So in the old days, you may hear someone giving you some suggestion, and then it's almost like you go into a trance, into a state where you can just relax, and there's also this thing that perhaps there are this old memory that from your young childhood, and you may have forgotten. Yet through hypnosis, you may be able to relive that. Okay, you may have to reactivate those memory. So sometimes people call that recovered memory. All right. So is it true or not? Hypnosis helps one retrieve memories of forgotten events. And again, most of you say yes, and that's what people hear a lot in the media as well. Again, if you talk to a psychologist doing research in the academic field, they will tell you that that's not true. Okay? Although there are people studying hypnosis, hypnotic suggestion, but it's a totally different kind of phenomenon that we are studying as psychologists. And that creates a lot of problem in the US in the 70s, even in the court, in many legal cases as well, whether we can trust so-called recovered memory. But in general, the evidence, the research empirical evidence for having this phenomenon is rather weak. All right, so that's not true. So here are some of the some of the things that you may have heard a lot. And that's what psychology or studying psychology should be about. So here's a quote from one of the studies trying to understand some of these misconceptions. So the three questions I asked you earlier, we call those misconceptions that people have or being circulated around a lot in the media. So purpose of the field of psychology is to assist the general public in becoming psychologically literate. Unfortunately, the ideas about psychology, like some of those that I asked you about, that gain the most traction with the public can lack theoretical rigor. So we want to, as a student in psychology, we would like to learn how to study psychology so that what we say, the statements that we can put forth about different phenomena, we can say those with confidence that we have evidence to back up those statements. There are experiments or there are studies or theory to back up what, what we want to suggest. All right, so that's what is psychology. Again, I think we still have some time. I want you to try this. Have you seen this before? Okay, it's called the dress. It's a bit old, but I think well, you got it. So here is this one. Yes. All right. So what do you see? The dress, the color of the dress. Do you see that as blue and black or white and gold? Okay. This is yet another demonstration that is quite robust. That at least here in Hong Kong, in my classes, whenever I ask my students to look at this, I got more reporting seeing that as blue and black, and fewer people reporting seeing that as white and gold. Just to let you know, it started in the West, in North America, when they first reported that. In fact, more people reported seeing that as white and gold rather than blue and black. So this is one of the things that we study. We try to learn and try to think why we have this experience of different colors, yet we have exactly the same image that we all are looking at. And that seems to varies, of course, across different continents in terms of whether we see more of whether we see more that as blue and black or white and gold. All right, that's what again some psychologists do. Okay. Like me, psychologists studying visual perception, we do this. Another example from visual perception is the one that we flash. That's me, a picture of me. I think this is a picture that Stephen helped taking. So this is from Stephen, in fact. So that's me. So do you notice anything wrong with that? Yeah, something wrong with the eyes. Some of you may not be able to see that. But if I turn it the other way, you will see that if not just the eyes, the mouth is also manipulated. It's being flipped upside down. So why you don't see that so clearly when the whole face is being rotated around, and it jumps out to you when I put that back upright. So this is something that we study in face recognition, face processing. There seems to be something special about the way that we process the visual system, our mind, our brain. There seems to be something special about how our mind process phases. Here's another example. In a few years back, it's well, just 2 years perhaps. Everyone was wearing face masks. And one may wonder, I think, whether this phenomenon works with mask on as well, and it does. Okay, so that's our CE, and in fact, the eyes were being manipulated. So if you want to search around, this is called a Thatcher illusion. Again, in psychology, we study interesting phenomena. So it's not just trying to think about it in terms of psychotherapy, counseling, and so on. We try to understand different phenomena out there. And the phenomena that we try to understand are very interesting. At least I think they are very interesting. And not only the phenomena are interesting, I think the phenomena are relevant as well. So this is some of the topics that we study as psychologists, which is about sleep, sleep research. So here I just want to highlight this. So this is some findings, some numbers that people got in the US. So when they looked at university students and how they performed in university. So in the US, very often they use a scale of 4-point scale. So it's they call it grade point average. So 4 will be the full score, and then well that translates into A. And then if you got a B, that's a 3-point, and then if you got a C, that's 2-point. All right. And then for each course, you got a grade, and then after a term and after a year, you just average the grades that you've got, and that's how they calculate the GPA, the grade point average. So this is what they found. For the students who slept 6 hours or less, did you sleep more than 6 hours last night? Yeah, some of you know. For the students who slept 6 hours or less, the average GPA was 2.74. Okay, all right. But those who slept 9 or more hours, the GPA was 3.24. So that's half point, 0.5, difference of 0.5 in GPA. There's half a grade. Okay, so it's quite a lot. So it's relevant. This is to highlight sleep is important. Sleep hygiene is something that we should pay attention to. Very often we talk about sleep in terms of sleep health these days. So not just focusing on perhaps you're not to the stage where you say you have insomnia or other kind of sleep disorders, sleep problems, but we talk about sleep health, whether you have healthy sleep pattern or quality. So psychology is very relevant to our everyday lives. Just to demonstrate or introduce to you some of the things that we do in our department, here are some of the labs, some of the research labs that we have in our department. This is not a complete list. So we do different things, including trying to study learning, language, and trying to study sleep, trying to study affected neuroscience, that's the neuroscience of emotion. If you've got a chance to join the mock lecture, probably you've heard about the director of this lab, Francis. So in psychology, again, is a very, very rich discipline. There are many different topics, and the topics that we study are interesting and relevant to our everyday lives. And we study the mind as what we see a lot in textbook. In psychology, we try to understand human mind and behavior. And of course, this is sort of our slogan. If you come into our department, we try to get our students to think about this. You learn about psychology, you learn about how the human mind and behavior works to make a difference in people's life and society. So that's psychology and what psychology is about. So very quickly, I just want to highlight some of the things that you may want to consider if you want to study psychology, and why perhaps you should consider coming here to our university, to our department. And of course, probably you've seen this a lot in various places. According to one of the university ranking, the QS ranking, our university ranked first in Hong Kong, fourth in Asia overall, and 17th in the world. And if we focus on psychology, again, we rank first in Hong Kong, third in Asia, and 34th in the world. So we are I think it's fair to say that we are one of the top universities and one of the top psychology departments in the world. And not just about the ranking, not just about these numbers. Why here at HKU to study psychology? First, here are some highlights that I would like you to learn, to know about our program. We emphasize a lot on experiential learning. So that's through encouraging our students to get involved in different research experience. And in fact, we require students to do internships. And there are different forms of that. It's like a placement in some of those experiences. So our students will get a chance to go out into the society. Very often they do that over the summer. So they spend 6-7 weeks in an organization and trying to learn how to apply psychological knowledge in different settings. It can be in an education setting, and sometimes it can be in a counseling setting, in a social service setting. Sometimes it can be about social welfare as well. So there are these opportunities for our students to learn, not just by sitting in the lecture hall, but going out there to apply. And we also emphasize a lot on doing research, learning how to do research. Like some of the demonstrations I showed you, we are still trying to understand what psychology and how the human mind and how the human mind works. So it requires a lot of research, and we try to train our students to be good researchers in psychology. And we have a high degree of flexibility in the program. And that's why many of our students, they would consider doing a second major or a minor to enrich their learning while they're here with us on campus. So what happens next after our students graduate from the program? So here, our department, the graduates from our department, they rank first in Hong Kong on employer reputation. So the potential employers or the current employers, they think highly of our students, of our graduates. And well, some also some highlights about how our students, our graduates are doing in terms of how much they earn afterwards as well. So we do employment survey of our graduate every year. So some numbers for you to learn about. 93% of our graduates, they were, well, in the past years, they were employed or they decided to go for further studies. So 93% of them. So in other words, the majority of them, they knew what they want to do, what they could do after they graduate. And there was only a small percentage being unemployed for whatever reasons, they were not seeking employment or they moved to another city or another country. And among those who went on to find a job, to go into the industry, in fact, 78% of them, they started in careers or in jobs closely or partially related to psychology. It can be about education, it can be about social service and other sectors. So here are just some, you will see more of this information from our brochure as well. Just to highlight, again, looking at what our students, what our graduates do afterwards. Some of them, they went on and joined some HR companies. There is this profession called industrial and organizational psychologist that requires further studies. And some of our graduates, they went on to get further training in helping children with special education needs. And of course, many of the students, they would consider going into fields like clinical psychology, counseling, and so on. And some of them, in fact, they went on and go into the law profession as well. Of course, I mentioned that some of the students, they decided to do further studies. And some of those studies, in fact, we call those research postgraduate studies, meaning that they would like to learn how to do research at a more advanced level. So those will be either through doing an MPhil or PhD degree in psychology. And of course, nowadays, there in the society, very often we talk about data analytics. It's important to learn from rich set of data. So for those who are interested in that, either they can learn something about data science while they are here with us in the integrated program, or some of them, in fact, they would go for a master's degree in data science as well. So very quickly, psychology is just mind reading. No, that's not the case. It's a scientific study of the mind and behavior. Psychologist is just about doing psychotherapy and psychotherapist. No, we work in different fields. I am not a psychotherapist. I do research in a university setting. So, and in terms of career in psychology, it's exciting, it's very diverse. There are different options that our graduates can often consider. So if you, hopefully, you will really consider applying to us. So that's our JUPAS code. Sorry. So of course, we also have non-JUPAS route as well. If you are applying for the JUPAS route, that's our code 6705. We look at the best 5 among the subjects that you've taken, A or C subjects, and we admit only Band A applicants. So on your JUPAS application, you can specify Band A, Band B, and Band C, and so on. Basically, the top 3 choices. You need to put us as one of the top 3 choices for us to consider you in the JUPAS. We got some university broad general entrance requirements. And again, just would like to share some of the admission statistics that we got from last year. For the best 5, this is how we calculate the DSE score. If you got 5-star, that equals to 8.5. If you got a 5-star, that equals to 7. If you got a 5, that equals to 5.5. And then 4 is 4, 3 is 3, and so on. All right. And the upper quartile, the top 25%, they got at least 32 on the DSE, according to this calculation. Median meaning that half of our students, they achieve 29, at least 29. And then the lower quartile, 75% of all our students, they got at least 28 on the DSE. Again, according to this calculation. So here are some links. If you want to learn more about our program, you can go here. That's a webpage from our department. And this is the link to the university admission website as well. Okay. And of course, you can always check out these information through, we got links on our brochure as well. All right, thank you. And next, I would like to invite our current students to come and join us. Again, that's probably the more interesting part. So I'll ask them to sit here. Yeah, I can. All right. So here with us today, we got Kenton and Jess. So they're currently our students in our Bachelor of Psychology program. And perhaps we can start by asking, well, having them to tell you, so which year are they? And I know that they are doing either a second major. So of course, in our Bachelor of Psychology program, the first major has to be psychology. But I know that they are also doing either a second major or a minor. Perhaps I would just let them share again, what year are they and what they're doing in terms of a second major or minor. Jess?
So I'm a year 3 student, and my first major is in psychology, of course, and then I have a minor in counseling.
I'm a year 3 student as well. I'm also majoring in psychology and counseling.
Okay. So here we got 2 students. Well, they both got in through the DSE. No, you're through IB. Yeah. So we got one through JUPAS, one through non-JUPAS. So perhaps we can start with a question. Why did you choose our program? Why did you choose HKU Bachelor of Psychology?
I chose HKU because it's a first in Hong Kong university, and also it's a very prestigious university, and also have excellent professors like our professor here, and a lot of very good tutors, and they give me a lot of different opportunities. For example, a lot of different labs, and you can have a variety of opportunities to do different branches of psychology. And the reason why I chose psychology is because I think a lot of you have the same dream to become a clinical psychologist. And that's what I thought of when I applied for this degree. But after I came in, I think it also fascinates me is the different branches of psychology. For example, developmental psychology, what we talked about just now, personality, and a lot of different varieties that allow you to explore. And I think that's what's good about HKU psychology.
So actually, HKU Psychology was the only program that I applied to in Hong. And I applied to this because it was ranked first in Hong Kong, and it was very highly ranked amongst Asia. And apart from just academics, I knew that they had a lot of study abroad opportunities. And as a very highly ranked university, they're also globally connected with many international universities. So there's lots of opportunity for study abroad programs or exchange programs as well.
Yeah, thank you. So my next question is, I'm not sure. So many of you probably would have some preconceptions about psychology or about how studying psychology is like. I just want to ask the 2 of you here. So did you have some thoughts or some preconceptions about what studying psychology is like. And after coming here, do you find anything that's different from you thought about? And yeah, what are those? Yeah.
For me, coming into this program, I was very interested in clinical psychology. So I thought that a lot of what we would study would be related to clinical psychology. So for example, like the study of mental disorders. But once I entered this program, I realized that there was a lot more diverse fields to psychology. I found out that there was social psychology, cognitive psychology, and even quantitative methods to doing research in psychology. So that was very interesting to me, and I never expected that it would be so holistic and so diverse.
Same as her. As before I came in, I really want to pursue a career in clinical psychology, and after I came in, I found out like the different branches of psychology, and it really intrigues me to continue to explore all of these branches. Yep.
Well, same here. When I was an undergrad, I was thinking about clinical psychology. And well, I fell in love with visual perception. And here I am, still doing visual perception and other things as well. All right. So thinking ahead, so now you're sort of halfway through, you're in your third year. Anything that you expecting, or yeah, when you think about what you're going to do in your next year while you're here, are there anything that that you have, especially in mind, that you expect to experience here?
I will be going on my exchange soon. So in January, I'll be going to Vancouver, UBC for exchange. So I'm very looking forward to that.
I'm also going exchange in January. I'm going to the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, and yeah, I'm very looking forward to that as well. And also, I will do my internship next summer, and also get hands-on experience in different companies, and that's also what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, you hear them. Many of our students, in fact, they would go out for exchange. Most of them, I think they plan on doing that during their third year. And many of our students, they go to really top universities. So you heard UBC, you heard Kenton going to Edinburgh. Of course, we have students going into university in Australia and other places in the world as well. So it's a pretty diverse opportunities there. And so Kendon mentioned that he'll be doing an internship. I'm planning on doing an internship next summer. In fact, I think Jazz already did her internship the past summer. Perhaps you can share a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so in the past summer, I did an internship as an animal assisted intervention therapist. So I worked with an NGO, and my job was to work with therapy dogs, like therapy animals. And I worked with elderly. I visited elderly homes with the therapy dogs, and I also did one-on-one therapy dog sessions with children with autism spectrum disorder or ADHD.
Thank you. So any last comment or tips or any thoughts that you would like to share with the audience or students who might be considering psychology? Any tips?
I think HKU psychology is a really great choice if you're interested in how the mind works, or if you're interested in behavior and interested in other people. And there's a lot of diverse options for you to choose from. I think one of the most important features of this course is the flexibility. So whether you're interested in counseling or in neuroscience or in business, you have a choice in this degree to choose according to your passions.
I think you're absolutely going to enjoy these 4 years in HKU psychology, and if you're a people person, it's definitely a very good degree for you. And also, if you are interested in research, there are actually a lot of different opportunities as well, and you can get some hands-on experience in one of the labs that we mentioned before. And I think, yeah, it will be a very great opportunity for you all.
All right, thank you. All right. So next I think we are open to questions to see if you have any questions for about the program.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, let me bring the mic to you.
Do you have any forensic psychology courses or criminology?
We don't have any courses on psychology programs with forensic psychology courses either. Criminology is a separate field. I when I was an undergrad, in fact, my second degree was in criminology. Criminology is under sociology, is trying to understand how, well, phenomena, societal phenomena about crimes. So it takes a sociological perspective. So not so much about psychology. And we do have criminology here at HKU. So you can look into that, and you can even consider a second major in criminology, I think. And that's being offered by sociology department here.
Okay, very interesting. Any other questions? Yes.
So I have a question. Does HKU provide any like programs for secondary students to have a glance of what psychology is, or like what we're gonna, touch on when we learn for psychology?
Well, very good question as well. We don't have one that's specifically for psychology, but every summer, in fact, we have a what was it called? I think it's called summer school being offered by the faculty. So it's a Faculty of Social Sciences activity open to all secondary students, secondary school students. And we always have our colleagues taking part in that, talking about different topics. Of course, there's always a theme. Like last year, I think the theme was about AI and society. So that was a theme for our summer school last summer. And of course, we have colleagues from our department to share on that from the psychological perspective as well. So that's the closest thing that I can think of. We are planning on doing something that the university is doing it's called the Academies for the Talented. But that's more for a more selected group. So it's by invitation through the schools. So students nominated by their schools can join that those activities. We are planning on that. We haven't have that yet, but we will very likely have activities through that in the coming years as well. Yeah.
Okay, yes, we have another question.
Hello, I've noticed that in the curriculum, there are 78 credits for a second major or minor. I would like to know, will there be a lot of workload as we can have another major, or will the first major in psychology be not specific or detailed enough? Thank you.
I can answer the second part first. Undergraduate training in psychology, by definition, it has to cover different subfields in psychology. So it's general, and that's important that we give our students a balanced foundation about different subfields in psychology. So yes, it's not so much specialized in certain areas, but we do have electives that students who are interested in a particular direction, they can take more courses along that direction as well, perhaps. For example, some of the students say they would take education psychology. That's one of our electives that they can do. So that's the second part. The first part would be about the workload. If you do a second major, perhaps you can ask your experience. So what's the experience when you do a second major in counseling?
Second major in counseling is not really that heavy of workload. I think because counseling for me, counseling is more of the hands-on experience. So in the courses, there are a different, for example, overnight activities and a lot of hands-on experience that you can enjoy. And then I think for me, the workload isn't really that much compared to secondary school. I think, yeah, secondary school, there you have assignments every day. You have to, like, that day assignment, you have to hand it in the next day. But I think for university, if you have a good time management and you plan your time well, and I think it wouldn't be a big problem.
Yeah, actually about the workload. So you have to take 240 credits no matter what you do. So you can use those credits, those extra credits on free electives. So you can only have one major and some free electives, or you could have one major and another major, or even two minors. So these 240 credits are credits that you have to take no matter what. So what you choose to do with these credits is completely up to you.
Yeah. So basically, in other words, if you have a second major, you just have something to guide you to use the remaining credits. So just to share, when I did my undergrad, I got two majors and one minor, just because I was lazy not to think about what else to do. I just pick the general topics: psychology, criminology, and statistics, and that's it for me.
I think we have time for one more question. Does anyone have anything to ask?
Are there any other requirements or things that can help us to get into psychology in Hong Kong University?
Well, you saw the JUPAS admission statistics that we got last year. So mostly we look at performance in the DSE. And of course, later on, especially when sometimes highs and so on, a good score in English and good score in math will help.
Okay, so we are out of time. So everyone, I'm sure you have places to be. So please make sure when you're exiting to line up in one file line. Please be careful and don't hurt yourself. And just a reminder, we do have consultations on the 6th floor of this building. So if you have any more questions, you're free to ask us upstairs. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.